Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Without further ado, first of all, I would like to welcome my fellow panelists on today's panel. We really, truly appreciate the time that you're giving to us today to share with us this amazing story. As a member of Jada and what we're trying to do, I can say I am extremely excited about the most recent news that were circulated around the most recent venture capital round raised by SARI. This is primarily why we are here today, to discuss that exciting bit of news, share some insight, learn a little bit about SARI and what they do. As I can imagine, being a B2B business, it's a black box to a lot of people out there. Learn a little bit about Venture Souk, the venture capital firm that actually led the round. Then learn a little bit about Rocket Ship VC, a premier Silicon Valley fund manager who was piqued its interest by a Saudi startup, and how did they develop that interest enough to actually translate into an investment in the most recent round. So without any further ado, I want to throw the mic to my friends and colleagues at SARI to give us a little bit of a background about SARI as a business, the problem they are solving, the size of that problem, and how they're going about solving it. So please, Mohammed, Khalid.
Thank you, Mazen, for having us in this panel and to share it with our backers, as well as colleagues Khalid and Mus'ab, as well Jada, in this journey. Let me talk about why, and probably Khalid talks about how are we going to solve this probably now in the coming 5 to 10 years. I think we started early on about is how can we empower businesses, and especially businesses that empower our neighborhoods, our mom and pop shop, that the ground or the playing field is not level for them. And that's the initial thesis for us. How can we give them the infrastructure? How can we give them, starting with the procurement? And the first nod for us is we went to the wholesale market, and we see how can we elevate that market. And there were multiple routes for us to do that. One is to start a warehouse and become a wholesaler ourselves. The second route for us is to be a tech company that is scalable, that can give solution not just for one city or one zone, but can be scalable globally. And from that thesis is we went with a technology approach on synchronizing all the supplier, all the player on that industry, to make it accessible for both supplier and buyer, and make that supply chain efficient. A lot of people ask us, is SARI is a broker in the middle? Is SARI is a marketplace? Today, what we're seeing today is SARI is probably supply chain 2.0. So we're having that ecosystem that where supplier can reach buyer in a better, efficient way, and buyer reaching supply in a better way. And we're building on that infrastructure a lot of capabilities, starting with embedded finances, as well as we're leveraging the data for further things as we go. So that's been SARI so far. And for the audience that doesn't know Arabic, SARI means continuity. So that's actually the soul of our brand, the soul of our what we're doing today, is to have that continuity. And hopefully one day we build that autonomous purchasing, autonomous fulfillment, autonomous enablement as we go. So that's why we started. I'll give Khalid the mic to kind of share our vision, our roadmap as a technology company.
So thank you, Mohammed, and thank you, Jada, for having us today. I'll double down on what Mohammed said, and the main thesis we have here is that the market does not lack infrastructure, and what the market lacks is synchronization. And to do this, you have to use technology to build that continuity and connectivity between the multiple nodes in this supply chain. What we are doing is that we are helping our buyers by aggregating demand or by aggregating supply for them, helping them manage their purchases and manage their logistics. And we are also doing that for the suppliers by giving them more reach and more reach geographically and by reaching other segments. The vision that we have is to enable businesses to purchase things autonomously and get them fulfilled autonomously. And to do this, we have to empower both sides of the markets. We are empowering the buyers with technology that utilizes the data available in the market, the ability of and the accessibility that data provides to the other side of the market, the suppliers. And we are empowering suppliers, especially the micro suppliers who are new to the market or they have limited reach due to the current operational challenges, and we are getting them more reach to other buyers. I'll just say that what we are doing is getting things online, and by getting things online, magical things happen and more opportunities rise.
Thank you so much, Khalid Mohammed. I'll pass the mic now to Venture Souq. Sunil, I saw Ma'an for a little while. I think he might be having some technical difficulties. I see him joining again now. So if you just can take us through a brief intro about Venture Souq, your evolution, and the journey with Sari and how it started.
Sure. Thank you, Mazen, and the Jada team. Pleasure to be a part of this panel. So just a quick high level on Venture Souq. We're a VC firm based in the region, headquartered currently out of the UAE. We started investing probably 5 or 6 years ago, starting primarily as an angel syndicate or an angel platform, working with retail investors to provide them an opportunity to get into global deals, in kind of the US, India, Asia, Africa, and of course the MENA region as well. We did that for a number of years and started to also then work with large family offices, primarily in Saudi Arabia, to help them manage their venture capital allocations. And then in 2019, we took a step back and looked at our portfolio, which consisted of a number of, fintech adjacent, and B2B and enterprise SaaS companies globally, and started to think about what the development of those particular themes would look like in the region. And so, of course, in early 2020, COVID hit. Adoption accelerated in all of those sectors. And so we decided to launch a fund focused primarily on those themes in the middle of 2020. We've made a number of investments so far, focused on those themes. But we had the opportunity to engage with Sari early in 2020, started to build a relationship with them. And the business is similar to a number of businesses that we've invested in or are familiar with globally, including specifically Udaan in India, which we thought was the most comparable. And then of course other businesses focused on kind of micro merchants, such as Katabook in India or Buku Warung in Indonesia, really focused on that specific vertical. And so we loved what the team was building. And decided, got to know them very, very closely. There was a lot of trust and kind of, very, very goodwill formed between us and the founding team early on. And so we thought it'd be a great deal for us to lead out of this new fund. That's kind of that's the evolution of how the deal started. In terms of our engagement with Rocket Ship, we I guess, and Sailesh will be able to, speak more to this, but I guess, they're highly data driven and use algorithms, use or rely heavily on algorithms to kind of identify opportunities. And they heard about Sari and kind of what was going on, potentially with the round. And so, got in touch with the founding team at Sari, who then put us in touch with Sailesh at Rocket Ship to speak to them about, just give them insight into kind of what kind of diligence we performed. We talked a little bit about We talked a little bit about how we arrived at the valuation, and really it was actually, this being their first investment in Saudi Arabia, and the first, or one of their first in the broader MENA region, just getting them comfortable on what the ecosystem and the landscape looked like, and why we're so bullish on Saudi, looking to deploy a significant portion of this new fund into Saudi Arabia, and some in opportunities in fintech adjacent spaces. So that's kind of how we started to work with Rocketship, and it's been great so far.
Thank you so much, Sunil. Okay, and now we'll get through this last bit of introductions, and then we'll get into some questions and answers. Now, I want to take a minute, talk a little bit about my first interactions with Rocketship VC, as I had the pleasure of got to know them a little bit, and have spent some time learning from Salish about their business model, which is quite interesting. Salish, please talk to us a little bit about your investment thesis, your algorithm-based style of investment, your early results of success, and how is this sort of shaping up, and how did a company in the middle of the desert pop up on your radar?
Thanks, Mazen. Thanks to everyone for having us be part of this panel. It's great to see all of you. And thanks for those kind words of introduction, both Sunil and Mazen. Rocketship is a Silicon Valley-based venture fund. The key thing about us is who we are is very different from a typical VC. We are computer scientists by career. All of us have long careers in AI and machine learning. We are entrepreneurs ourselves. We have founded companies, exited companies, built these companies to large scale, sold them to companies like Amazon and Walmart and Square and so on. And now we are investors. And so what makes Rocketship very different and very exciting for us is the fact that, as both Sunil and Mazen alluded to, we use our computer science expertise to build machine learning algorithms that work on the largest database of startup activity in the world today, which is updated daily on a daily basis by data coming from all parts of the world, to find what we believe are going to be the fastest growing startups in the world. And that's the reason for the name Rocketship. We find those rocket ships that are about to launch or just have launched wherever they are in the world. So on any given day, our algorithms find these companies, and we reach out to them proactively. So for example, our first reach out was to Musab to say, hey, we are a VC firm here in Silicon Valley and are interested in your company. So we are grateful that he didn't think we were spammers, and that he chose to actually respond back to these emails. So we proactively reach out to these companies. Our data has already indicated that they're on their track to become rocket ships. And we see these companies not in isolation where they are in the world, but as a part of a trend that Sunil alluded to as well. So we are seeing this massive transformation that is happening all over the world, where economies are moving to sort of the next generation of technology. And this is something Mohammed alluded to in his introduction as well, where things that are currently in infrastructure but are not exactly efficient are transforming themselves through technology to become significantly efficient. And this, as a trend, we've been seeing both here in the US, in Europe, but much more excitingly in the really fast-growing economies in India, Indonesia, and many countries in the MENA region. And the advantage of our algorithms is that they try to pick what we believe is going to be the leader in that category. So that's why we were excited to see that Saudi was that top company. And of course, as investors, we are here in Silicon Valley. While the algorithms can tell us a lot about this company, it doesn't tell you exactly the sort of the touch and feel of what's happening on the local ground, how these companies are transforming themselves, who these founders are, and what the potential local challenges and opportunities might be. And that's where we were very excited to be introduced to our local partners, VentureSouk, there, where as Sunil and Man helped us really understand how this ecosystem is in that transformation. And we also share investments with VentureSouk in companies like Hatabook and Buku Warung in Indonesia. So that gave us a lot of confidence, not just in the lead investor, but also in the broader region as an excellent place to start deploying capital. And when all of those things came together, we met Musab, we met Khalid, we met Mohammed. What really drove our investment thesis was, yes, the algorithms did their job right. Sari was the #1 company in the space. But more importantly, Sari was not just #1 because they were first movers, but because they had tremendous technological and structural advantages. And their vision was not limited to just a few cities in Saudi, but to dominate all of Saudi Arabia and expand out to the GCC region and become a world-class company launched out of Saudi Arabia. And those are the kinds of companies that truly are rocket ships for us. So we are very excited and potentially very grateful that the Sari team similarly thought we were exciting partners for them. And the VentureSouk folks thought that we would be a great addition to this team as well. And so we are very excited to be part of Sari's journey in becoming a rocket ship.
Thank you so much, Salish. I want to turn the conversation back to the Sari team and Mohammed, Khalid, Mus'ab, whoever want to take this question. Talk to us a little bit about your challenges that you faced in recruiting talent, and the talent base that you were able to establish internally. A lot startups are built on the back of amazing talent. There is no compromise on that. So talk to us a little bit about the challenges you faced and how were you successful in recruiting your team.
So let me start. Probably Mus'ab can as well tap on this. Based on my experience previously with Kareem, who was initially a rocket ship as well, that attracted a lot of talent. Today, I'm seeing the same kind of momentum happening with Sari as well. And I think talent at the end of the day is not agnostic to location and nationality, especially after COVID-19, a lot of remote work happening. So I think why a lot of talent today excited to join Sari is that we have an ambitious vision, a huge market, as well as the timing matter. When we talk to a lot of people about why are we doing this today, there are a lot of mega trends happening in Saudi that are a tailwind for what we are doing. There is a huge disruption in the traditional market when it comes to cash versus online payment. Then you have a lot of regulation happening on these stores being modernized. Then you have an invoicing, electronic invoicing by end of this year. Then there is a lot of maker stimulus about made in Saudi and a lot of farmers. So there are a lot of exciting things happening in that kind of mega trend. And luckily, in the last 2 years, we have built the infrastructure that strongly position us to build that ambitious vision and cultivate as much as talent to take over that kind of, I would say, mountain peak. And there is kind of an Everest to climb. A lot of talent today that we are attracting, probably seeing better compensation from other recruiters, but they don't have that excitement, they don't have that thrill. And additionally, everyone joining Sari today is an owner, and that's some kind of sense of ownership and component to the talent we're attracting. Today we have more than 10 nationalities. We are 200 plus Sarians, people working from home, people working as a nomad technology from an island somewhere. At the end of the day, we have our KPIs, we're achieving them, and we're building that diversity within the team to scale our vision. Mus'ab actually was our early investor that got excited about our vision, and he brought a huge know-how as he exposed to a lot of investment himself, and bring that know-how in the governance, in the corporate, and build a lot of maturity in the business as we go. So this is something I think a lot of investor and talent appreciate, is that we're no longer a pirate. We're moving somehow to be a navy. We have that governance, we have that structure to build that next excellence in our organization. I'll pass it to Musa.
Thank you, Mohammed. I think in addition to that, the gents over here, Mohammed and Khalid, with the help of all the backers, were able to build a very great culture, a challenging one, actually, and that's one of the main things that would attract smart talents and very skilled employees and partners later on. In addition to that, the family atmosphere and environment within the company, that's one of the main pillars, to be honest. To build that ownership culture, you need to deal with everyone within the company as a founder and as a partner. And the guys over here actually, I think one of the few startups in the region who actually give shares to every single employees, even the interns and then not the interns, but the junior and fresh grads till the C-level. So building that culture actually would and already did help Sari a lot in attracting top-notch talent and skilled employees.
Thank you. Okay. I'll ask a question. Actually, it's for both sides, for actually all three sides in this conversation. I don't know if there is sides, or we're all one team here, I think. So ultimately, it's what to Mohammed and Sari team. What does it mean to have somebody like Rocketship with you along this journey, and as well as Venture Souq? What do you? I'm going to put you on the spot here. What are your expectations, and what are these gentlemen gonna bring to the table in order to help you reach your full potential? And then you gentlemen can add on to whatever the Sari team say.
Yeah, let me start by taking that bullet. I think one of the main add value that we look for backers in that journey is that they have, I would say, the kind of emotional intelligence coming from a founder experience, the empathy in that journey, because there will be kind of growth momentum, but there will be more dark days. And I think that the kind of fund that comes understands that momentum and help us in that journey is that the backers that we're always looking for to be pro-founders, pushing the journey, as well as helping us in the vision. Then to talk about technicality, I think in the era when we started, we look for backers in that journey like Raed and MSA that help us, as well as logistical landscape, because Raed overseeing the Majdoui logistic and others and invested logistically as well. So they help us in understanding the kind of logistic landscape. In that phase in the age of Sari, we believe we are already sitting in one of the largest digital distribution. And the question that we ask, how can we leverage that? And there's two answers for us. One, data. Two is embedded financing and services. And when we looked at the region and the investor and their portfolio, we've seen Venture Souq done tremendous work in cultivating that portfolio in the B2B landscape, where they have micro SaaS components and services. And when we look at Salish and Rocketship, I think they have a great understanding in how to leverage data commercially. And if they've done that on a larger scale, either with a big corporation like Walmart, Amazon, and Square, as well as exited portfolio like Khatabook and Moglis and others, as well, that give us a horizon of a long-term exit strategy, because these gentlemen as well seen that with their portfolio. So two components at a personal level and at a technical level that support us as well and kind of in our roadmap. Khalid, if you want to add something, or Musab.
Yeah, maybe I'll add something that also taps on the question of talents, is that for us, this is a journey, and we will not be able to reach the vision that we set upon ourselves without a great team of backers and teammates. And to be able to, you wouldn't expect yourself to be able to raise millions without being able to also attract people who will be working with you and joining shoulder by shoulder to achieve that vision. And I'm really proud of the great team that we have captured through this journey. We have great talents working across the globe from different locations and different cities, helping us build that technology and helping us deliver that value on the ground in every city. And I'm really thankful to their input into our journey.
Salish, Sunil, you wanna add anything?
Sure. Yeah. No. I think for us, in terms of working with Silicon Valley and other international VC firms, I guess from their point of view, as Salish alluded to, they're looking to kind of working with a strong regional or local lead. Is to kind of that touch and feel of what the ecosystem looks like from a macro down to the micro. And so, hopefully, we're able to provide that context to international and Silicon Valley VCs like Rocketship and others as they increasingly look at the region, which people are now starting to realize is very unique and kind of exciting. Particularly for those comfortable investing in kind of emerging and frontier markets, which is great for us. It's fantastic to have international VCs looking at the region, not just from a validation standpoint of the deals that we're doing, which is great and fantastic, but it's also being able to leverage expertise. As Salish mentioned, they're kind of highly data driven and investors in similar concepts and themes globally. So being able to have the founders that we're backing being able to utilize that, but also utilize their investor networks as well for future rounds of financing. So I think that connectivity to global founders doing similar things where there's an opportunity to kind of share notes and kind of experiences, ups and downs, as founders going through journeys in building products, and being able to at the right time bring in those investor relationships, much in a similar way. Hey, we invested in this company in Saudi, they're doing really good. We're really excited about how they're building. We invested here. Why don't you guys take a look at it? Because we know you're focused more on growth, or and you're looking for new markets to deploy capital. So I think there's it's very much very, very strong synergies between us as regional investors and international firms like Rocketship, and hopefully there's no doubt in my mind that we'll be doing deals with Rocketship again, and I'm sure others as they look at the region.
Absolutely. To amplify further what Sunil said, the value add that we bring is, as I said, we are fellow founders ourselves, and this is why the point that Mohammed made initially was very, very on for us, because as fellow founders, we appreciate this long journey. And as Sunil said, this long journey can be either assisted, or there are going to be some trouble spots. And so having local expertise in existing companies and other portfolio companies, guiding them through some of these trouble spots is absolutely valuable, so that you don't necessarily repeat the same mistakes, or the fact that this is an expected part of the journey. So the value add, I think, comes in many, many different aspects, and we are excited to be able to contribute that. But the thing that I think both excited me personally about SARI, and the thing that I hope to most encourage is this ambition. From the very beginning, we saw SARI not as a local country player or even a regional player, but a global world-class player. Because some of the solutions that they are coming up with, though might be unique to the region, are easily translatable and applicable to other parts of the world as well. So we see SARI in a very broad lens, and that is sort of it has always been thought of as more of a Silicon Valley way of thinking, is to think about how you're going to disrupt and dominate the world. And so this is why we were very excited to see that same kind of ambition and sort of vision in the SARI team. And this was shared very much by the venture soup folks as well, because they also exactly opened our eyes to that aspect, right? Which was these founders are not just looking at the small Saudi market, which is not small, just to be very clear, it's $165 billion. But compared to the 900 billion from the GCC region, or the over a trillion and a half when you expand it to the MENA region, this is, as Sunil said, the most exciting ecosystem that is currently still untapped for VCs. And so more and more VCs are looking at this space. And so we were very excited to see that Saudi is in the forefront of that wave.
Thank you, everyone. I want to segue off of that last comment with, you've mentioned in the past that you've looked at similar plays from different regions, whether it is Latin America, Southeast Asia. Talk to us a little bit what differentiates Sari that sort of made them stick out of the rest, stand out instead of the rest.
Sure. So at the forefront, one of the things that the region has that is different from other regions is very good smartphone penetration and very good at the end consumer level penetration of technology. But as Khalid said, the infrastructure might all exist, but none of it is all tied together. And the other thing that is common is even though these are systems with technology, there is still a little bit of a resistance to doing B2B commerce with trust and with real money on these systems. So the thing that Sari brings to the table is it brings a very transparent platform that folks can see what is going on and sort of develop that trust. And the trust is a common commodity / issue in many other ecosystems. And in Latin America too, this is a significant challenge. People don't even believe that if they make something, an order on a website, whether they will get this or not, right? So those kinds of issues, I think, are quite common and global. And I think the way in which Sari is approaching this is very differentiated. There's also many ways in which to solve this problem, all the way from a completely owned and operated system where you own your warehouses, you own your delivery system, you own your software. Some of those solutions, while at the face of it may be significantly exciting, they're also significantly capital inefficient in the beginning. You have to be like an Amazon who owns all their warehouses and planes and everything at that scale in order to accomplish this efficiently. The beginning, you want to try to tie these pieces together, and then you find where the next level of inefficiency is. And then you solve for that by saying, okay, so the inefficiency is in the last mile delivery, then Sari takes control of that. And these parts are different in different ecosystems. In India, for example, there is, thanks to the e-commerce, there is a lot more development of that last mile delivery stuff that there are many other players involved. But the quality of the service there is challenging. So for some of these companies, they are taking over that last mile delivery as an important aspect of their process. Whereas I think in Sari's world, there are already existing players who can do this, but then for more important things, there's a sort of a hybrid approach of combining some things that you are controlling versus allowing other things to be taken care of by third-party players. So this sort of localization of what's working in your ecosystem and what's continues to be an inefficiency is what's different about each of these ecosystems. So you find different things to focus on based on what's working and what's not working. This approach fundamentally depends on you having very flexible infrastructure. And once again, this is the reason why we were excited by Sari, because Sari's entire platform is very flexible. You can mix and match and plug and play different models, and you can be very nimble. So tomorrow, if a significant warehouse player comes in and is able to offer excellent services at very competitive cost, Sari can just plug those guys in and make this all work for the end consumer.
Thank you. I'm gonna maybe have one more questions and then probably open it up to the audience for questions. Members of the audience, please raise your hands. I will try to sort of call on you in the order that the hand is raised. Last question is around data to Mohammed and the SARI, greater SARI team, maybe even Khalid is the relevant party. How important is the data aspect of what you're doing? How do you see that sort of helping you sharpening your saw every once in a while in terms of how you operate internally, and how do you even see monetizing some of the data that you actually are help building up as you serve this massive ecosystem?
Let me just give you a perspective on what's happening from the production of the legacy infrastructure now. Today, if you want to know how your product is performing as a manufacturer, you probably need to wait for a quarterly report and survey on a small sample, or it might be annual. What happened at SARI is that we touch point all these merchants on a daily basis at exposure of 30,000 micro and SMEs in more than 5 major cities. So you always have that hyper local understanding and the demand of these micro and small businesses. So you don't need to wait. You always have on top of kind of data understanding, and to understand how to deliver your portfolio as a supplier. The same thing happens as you are a buyer. What works in the north of Riyadh probably doesn't work in the south of Riyadh. And today we are saying probably the north of Riyadh has better consumption to specific products that probably healthy conscious. When you go to the south of Riyadh, probably the more focus on a stable and a different size. And at the end of the day, as a small and micro merchant that driven by 1 to 3 people, you want to maximize the return on investment on the shelf, because you have a storage limitation, you have a shelf limitation, and you want to maximize the efficiency and the return on investment. And with data, we give you the kind of shelf selection and exposure on how to maximize your earnings. And then as a supplier, we give you the reach to understand the performance. How are you doing today? But this is just tip of the iceberg. At the end of the day, we see that reach is just a large platform, and how can we help you as a merchant or as a supplier, either with better delivery and cost of distribution, as a buyer, how to reduce your cost as you go. So the data that we are leveraging today and capturing give us the capability to reduce costs for buyer and supplier, give them further margin, as well as give them real-time data and understanding for distribution, as well as replenishment, and hopefully one day reaching that autonomous fulfillment component where you as a small and micro business never need to worry about replenishment and focus on the consumer on the front end.
Okay, great. Maybe one last question. Rocket Chip, tell us a little bit more about your other activities here in the regions. Did other companies other than SARI pop up on your radar? How do you foresee the region on other sort of business verticals? If you've been sort of having some conversations, I assume.
We have, and I think this is something Sunil alluded to as well. The innovation that is happening in the region is happening in sort of waves, and the forefront of these waves is typically commerce and fintech. And SARI, of course, has a unique combination of both of those sort of happening at the same time. So we see a sort of a wave of both commerce and fintech. In fintech, the buy now, pay later sort of version of companies, I think I've been seeing a lot of excitement. You know, Tamara is one of them. We are also seeing several other sort of next wave of companies coming up. They have to do with sort of social interactions. They have to do with things like content creation, authoring stories, books, videos. So we see this the region sort of transforming itself by bringing more and more people to actually not just be consumers, but as well as producers. So the two largest segments, as I said, are commerce and fintech. And commerce and fintech both are transforming not just consumer side, but business side as well, as Sari is already doing. But there's more here to be done. For example, in fintech, it's not just about moving money back and forth as payments, but there's also lending, there's invoice management, factoring. All of this is all focused on removing inefficiencies and enabling companies to grow rapidly. And the consumer side, the things that we are more excited by is more and more people coming online to express themselves, express their interest in their hobbies, in the books that they are reading, in the music that they're listening to. Way back when we started the fund, we looked at Anghami, the startup that is now is the equivalent of Spotify in the region. So we're seeing a lot of that excitement, sort of the next wave of that excitement happen in the region. The parts of the infrastructure that need sort of bigger sort of improvement are getting attention. So things like the healthcare system. Obviously, COVID has made the healthcare a very important aspect. So how do you book an appointment? How do you get medical advice? Those are also things that we are seeing significant interest around. But on the whole, the way I would sort of characterize it is very similar to what Sunil said, which is the entire region is moving in that leapfrog transformation phase where there's a lot of opportunity. So if you are founders that are in the audience, you're one of the most exciting regions in the space, you should be starting companies right now, or you should be learning about how to start companies by working at companies like Sari. I think Mohammed mentioned this as well, right? His experience at Kareem was an important aspect of how Sari was built. And this is the best way in which you can learn how to build a company, is to be early in a startup where you get to see everything in this company.
Yeah, we've been hearing a great deal about the Kareem Mafia, and soon we'll be hearing about the Sari Mafia, and then we'll be hearing about the mafia of the mafia that was created out of Sari, and it will all hopefully trickle down and create multiple mobs in a good sense. We have some questions on the. So Tariq Muhammad is asking to all panelists, but I'm assuming this is a product question, so I'm gonna direct it to Muhammad and company. How do you test some of the products? How do you know if the product after the test, if it's working for the micro business or not, or others? I'm not clear, to be honest, on the question itself. Tariq, if you can just elaborate, if you can just open up your mic, Jada team, if you are the administrators, if you can allow Tariq to speak his question, to maybe he can elaborate a little more on it.
Yes, hello.
Hello, Tariq, تفضل.
I'm asking about if the product after you test it, in the testing phase of the product, if it's working and getting the data, and if it's working for the micro business and the other businesses, how do you know if it's working or not?
I'll let Khalid talk about our product and the kind of opportunity seizing overall.
Yeah, so there is the way we do it in Sari is that we start by identifying opportunities and problems worth solving. The the main thing that you have to do to be able to answer this question is to start by hypothesizing on what will work and what will not work. And to do this, you will have to do your research by understanding, either by primary research, by putting your hand on what's going on, or by secondary research, by looking what others are doing, what data is available in the market, and what your data tells you about this. And by building a hypothesis, you have something to test your performance against at the end. So if you think this is something that will, let's say, reduce the cost of deliveries, then here you go. If that reduces the cost of delivery at the end of the day or not. And if one big challenge in developing product is that how can you balance your guts feeling as a innovator and entrepreneur, and how can you support that with data and validate it as you move forward. So this is how we do it at SARI. We have a fail fast mentality, and we are not married to our ideas. So we keep building hypotheses and we keep testing them every time. And when it works, we have a solid base on why is it working and how can we take it further.
Thank you. We have a question on the chat, and then I will call on Mohammed Al-Qurashi. So Jada team, if you allow Mohammed Al-Qurashi to come up in the panel. So a college student is asking, how do they apply to work for you guys at SARI? So how do they get in touch with you?
I guess LinkedIn, there are a lot of opportunities available, or as well in our website. And if you have their contact within the registration, please share it with us after the call. I'm happy to reach out.
Inshallah, will do. Great. Khoy Mohammed, mic is yours.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
I'm actually very proud that a company like SARI has been globally known now. And this is, for us as a startup, give us the encouragement to continue our businesses. My experience in the wholesales was around 12 years ago. And I know the pain that is you, SARI, are fixing, which is a great and which is a very nice, problem solving. But my question here is, now you are more than 3,000 SKUs, and you are connecting the, let's say, the wholesaler with the buyers. So how can you manage when you have like more than wholesalers? And we know sometimes in the market there is a lack of some of the, let's say, the most important product as a technology aspect. Now, let's say there are a fast-moving product where all the, let's say, the buyers are looking for, and other products could be not available for in the wholesalers. So how do you manage, for example, in Riyadh base, between more than 3 or 4 wholesalers, where you can arrange that the availability of their products at the same time? If you don't understand, I can make it in a different way.
No, I think the question is about how do you create that consolidation and the fragmentation happening on the supplier side.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, this is what differentiates SARI from other player on the market, is that we don't just go and aggregate demand to a fixed supplier. We have hundreds of wholesalers, including the brand and the manufacturer themselves. At the end of the day, they are competing against a PO that generated from a specific consumer. And today, if you are a micro business, you might get that basket procured by supplier A, but after 1 hour, you might be procured by supplier B that missed the opportunity on the first basket, creating continuous kind of competition and network effect on the landscape. But as Salish mentioned early on, our main emphasis early on is how can we synchronize the data and accessibility. And there was a mobile way and kind of how can consolidate these procurement from different nodes in the supply chain. Now we are at a scale of moving more than 80,000 shipments a month, and those shipments in the range of 200 kilograms. So you can understand the magnitude we are having. We're building our own exclusive infrastructure in terms of delivery hub to kind of consider that consolidation and give optimal experience to the end consumer. So as Salish mentioned and the team, early on you focus on the main problem, which is accessibility, and then you start fixing then efficiency within your business model and in the distribution. Consolidation becomes a problem with your selection growing, and that's what happened as we continue growing. By growing selection, getting more supplier, getting more basket penetration to our consumer. And today at a scale, we believe we already have a control on the unit economics. So we have more kind of encouragement to build some of the delivery hub infrastructure. But early on, technology enabled us to understand the space capability on the supplier. And the reminder, Sari is not just a consumer app. We are an ecosystem that has a supplier toolkit. We have a driver application, as well as we have the driver. And that connectivity give us visibility on the space available on the market to aggregate order and have it delivered as soon as 24 hours.
Thank you. Okay, so we have some chatter in the chat box. Joseph Wahbi is taking advantage of a good networking opportunity and seizing that like an entrepreneur should. And he's asking both Sunil and Salish to if they can connect. So guys, just be wary of that note addressed to you. We have another question. I'm sorry, this is scrolling fairly fast. Hello all, we are a startup managed to raise $1.33 million via crowdfunding, and now we're thinking about the next round. The question we have is about valuation. How do we get the best and fair valuation for our company? What is the easiest way to calculate that? That's quite a loaded question, Ala, but if you, Sunil or Salish, want to take a quick stab at that?
Sure. It's probably the conversation is probably a bit longer than we have here. But a lot of different variables to consider. What business segment you're in. What subsector within that you're in. What geography you're in. Where you're at from a traction standpoint are all in a few of the things that kind of go into thinking about what your potential valuation looks like. But happy to have Mazen, my email shared, my email address shared, and with this particular participant, and can talk about it offline.
We'll do so. Great. Okay, well, who else? Okay, so we have the gentleman, college student. I can't make your first name صراحة. Ayar Sadhan, ما أدري عبد الله Sadhan, or I'll just guess it's probably that. So he left his email. So Muhammad and Sari team, you can just take note of that, and we can also share it with you via email. There is a last question from Tamer to Salish. Do you baseline performance metric across different markets? Kind of like purchases price parity? Do different countries have different standards of what is good margin growth, etc.?
So the answer to that question is yes, but not necessarily in the way you're probably thinking about it. Because as I explained in the beginning, what matters to us is that we are investing in companies that become global leaders. So at some point, the numbers will all unify in some sense to become numbers that are competitive with the best in the world. But initially, when the growth is all happening, the numbers do matter based on what local environment you're in, and therefore, growth rates do differ. For example, growth rate or the number of users in a developed economy where acquisition costs are higher is different from growth rates in a developing economy where acquisition costs are lower. So in the initial stages, the algorithms do take care of and take cognizance of these differences, and hence prefer faster growing companies in faster growing markets versus outstanding companies in more mature markets. But in the phase at which we are looking at, these have to be more about sort of in the initial stages to show really that the product is working, that the market is receptive about the product, and that the company is growing as fast as it can grow. It's outstanding in its own local environment. Because those are the things that will lead the company to becoming a globally dominant company. So the answer is yes, but only for the sort of the near term. What we are really looking for is that does the company have the outlier potential to become a global world-class company?
Okay, last question. I think we have just a little bit under 2 minutes for that. This is from Lamu Al-Ghamdi, and they say the question is, do you think Saudi will have a program to help a new entrepreneur understand the market you're operating within, I guess?
Yeah, I think this kind of session is our way to kind of share some of the learning on a kind of compound and compressed way. But most of the employee and the Sarians that join us in the journey, they are entrepreneur in the making. So I think the best way to know about the market is to have a skin in the game, roll up your sleeve, understand what's going on, and probably solve some problem that related to Sari platform and ecosystem in the future, and probably duplicate some of the learning that you have to kind of shift and start a new business. But absolutely, we welcome people that want to create a paradigm shift in kind of a classical market. They are entrepreneurs by heart and come for a bigger vision. So we don't have a program. This is actually our essence and how we hire people that entrepreneurs in the making. So if you see yourself kind of have the dareness to kind of go challenge the status quo, please apply and see what are the vacancy. And we have as well an internship program for these in kind of university years. So yeah.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Thank you so much, the rest of the gentlemen, our fellow panelists, for taking the time to share with us this amazing story. We at Jada are extremely humbled and proud to be playing a part in this ecosystem and helping fuel this. We definitely can't do it without the help of the actual entrepreneurs that build these businesses and the fund managers that we partner up with to help us grow those opportunities and those businesses. I can't thank you enough again, and we'll definitely do this again. Hopefully, if travel permits and COVID is completely behind us, we'll get together again physically here in Saudi and get you to socialize and network amongst your peers and fellow entrepreneurs in the ecosystem. So I thank you once again. If there is anything anybody else would like to add at the end, there is the mic is all yours.
I guess I'll leave you with a message that now it's exciting time for a lot of local and Saudi entrepreneurs to challenge a lot of big problems. We have the attention of big global players that already done it in a kind of time span. So we have the opportunity now to leverage what's going on in the market in terms of scaling. So if you're an entrepreneur in the audience, I think this is the best time to start or join a rocket ship like Sari, hopefully in tackling bigger problem in the long run and creating that digital economy that disrupting traditional markets. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Mohammed. Great ending to this amazing session. Thank you all, everyone, and farewell.